This is the Mad Dragons Podcast.
Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mad Dragons Podcast. We were completely outplayed by a Warriors team that is no joke in 2023. What is a joke? Is the St. George Illawarra Dragons. To allow Ben Hunt to play is perfectly fine. Hundreds of players over the last decade or so have requested releases from existing contracts and still been able to perform as professionals. But for the club to allow Ben Hunt to run out as the captain is way more embarrassing than the performance the team put out on Friday night. Yes, it was a weak performance, but those that run the club, the faceless men in the background that make the big ticket decisions, have proven once again that they are spineless dogs that have zero respect for this club. They have zero respect for this jersey. They have zero respect for us fans. Every single time a captain runs out in the red V, he should be a person that loves the club and will gladly bleed for the red V. That was obviously not the case on Friday night. And I think the management spat in the face of the great captains this club has had in the past. Now, I've probably stolen a bit of your thunder, but I had to have my soapbox moment before we get into the show. So sorry about that, Hasman, but we'll move now into this one.
Yeah, thanks, Donny. This is Heroes and Villains Warriors edition. Now, incoming Dragons coach Shane Flanagan has really hit the ground running. Despite still being involved at another club, he's identified the team's fitness as a major contributor to the poor results that we've had this year and has instructed Dragons management to begin negotiations with high-performance expert Andrew Gray, who was actually on the physical performance team for Wayne Bennett in 2010 and has also consulted across multiple codes, including the English Premier League, and also Dan Lawson, who was part of Flano's medical and performance team for Cronulla in 2016 when they won the premiership. He's also reported to have told Moses Ambai his services will not be required in 2024, a decision which would have been unthinkable by the previous head coach. His dedication to a role he has not even yet commenced gets him the hero of the week. Now, the villain this week is someone that I'm sick to bloody death of talking about. The Willie won't he stay bullshit has destabilized the playing group, and his performance on Friday was that of a man who mentally has already checked out. He's meeting with the club on Monday to discuss his future, and I really hope the club shows a set of heretofore unseen balls and do not allow him to draw on the Broncos, as has been reported in the media in the last few days. However, his playing days in the NRL side should be well and truly over, and he should be made to either play in reserves or sit out the rest of the contract he signed an extension to in October last year, knowing full well when he did so that barring a miracle worthy of a sainthood, his buddy Griffin would not see out the 2023 season. Ben Hunt, you've disappointed a lot of people with the immature, crybaby way that you've carried on lately, the politician-like bat flips you've performed, and are fully deserving of the villain of the week. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you absolutely have been found wanting. That's it for Heroes and Villains for this week. Donny, back to you in the central missionary position.
Thanks, mate. That's an absolute ball terror. Although Chris Holmes is very disappointed that Jackson Ford wasn't your hero. So it's, you missed the mark according
Well,
to
if it's
some.
any consolation, though, that I did give that due consideration.
I think Jackson Ford should be the ultimate villain. Traitorous bastard, come back and play like that against us. What a wanker!
Wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault. We gave him a shit offer.
No, it wasn't, but it's his. He should play for free for the Dragons, the mighty Dragons. Channeling Craig Young there. It's
And then goes and bloody scores against us too. The prick.
yeah. Anyway,
I was a little bit happy with that. I have to admit.
It was just lucky Billy Burns didn't play, mate. All right, we're gonna have to get a lot of Billy Burns references in tonight because we've got to cheer ourselves up somehow. All right, into the Mad Dragons Vodcast Player of the Year voting in a tough night for the team. I think the panel might have voted with their hearts in a night where pretty much no player deserved recognition for good performance. We have given the man of the match to the bloke that does bleed red and white and had his special night overshadowed by a selfish captain. Jesse, you had JDB as our best. Was this more because of his milestone, or did you truly think that he was the best Dragon on the field?
Probably the latter, what you said. I thought he was the best Dragon on the field on the night. Yes, it was a big occasion, being his 200th game at the place he debuted at as well. So yeah, I thought he was one of the few that had a go, kept running forward all night, and actually finished the game with 55 tackles, again the most from any forward in the side. So in a pretty disappointing night, he was probably the shining light. 55 tackles, played the full 80 minutes, and yeah, he just went forward all night. And he actually just finished under 100 meters, but yeah, I thought he was really ripped in and tried his best, and always put it in. Not one of his stand-up performances, but still did enough, I think, to win my player of the night.
Yeah, again, I thought it was a high-effort game defensively. I thought there wasn't too many that really stood up in attack in the pack, and I thought our forward pack actually got dominated through the middle. So I was really surprised when I tallied up the votes that given we got absolutely smashed through the middle, that's where we lost the game. That the guys that got the two most votes were both blokes that played through the middle. So second in the voting was another forward in Frankie Molo. Muzzo, you had Frankie as our best. What was it that stood out, stood Frankie above the rest of that rabble?
Yeah, rabble was probably a good word for it, Donny. Yeah, look, I just sort of, especially early on, he was, when we sort of still looked in the game, he was, making some good meters, bending the line, just tackling with Venner. Look, it probably, looking at it again, could have probably went to JDB as well. But, like we've said numerous times on these VODs, when we lose like that, it's really hard to sort of work out who to give 3-2-1s to when we put into performance like that. But Frankie only played probably, I think, 46 minutes. So, I just think in that time, I look at the stats and he's running and that, and I sort of, I look at it, if I double that, the sort of workload that he would have got through, probably would have put him right up there anyway. But yeah, look, could have easily went to JDB, but for the time he was on, I thought Frankie was solid, but not outstanding. Like I said, we got dominated in the forward, so makes it a bit hard to give blokes like that the votes, but that's the way I saw it.
Yeah, I thought Frankie was probably one of the few that did actually look halfway likely going through the middle, bent the line a bit, had some good post contact meters. I thought Jack de Belin was largely pretty impotent in attack, while he was great in defence. 55 tackles is wonderful, but I think he had less than 20 post contact meters out there for basically the full game. He was out there for the full 80, and I didn't think Jack de Belin offered enough in attack, and I thought he was part of the issue in terms of our go forward throughout that contest. But yeah, I thought Frankie did roll up the sleeves a little bit, but yeah, it certainly wasn't a standout performance that normally would have got him votes in a good showing. But yeah, I thought he was probably the best of a bad bunch in the forward pack. Zach Lomax was the other player recognised by the panel. Chloe, let us know why you had Lomax as the Dragons' best.
I chose Zach because when I saw him, he was in like all around everywhere on the field. He was tackling like he tackled where it was dangerously close, and I just thought he showed confidence, and he was just I just thought he was really good on the field.
Yeah, no, I thought Lomax was probably our best in the first 40. I didn't notice him as much in the second half. I thought he went missing a little bit, and he certainly dropped down my rankings by the end of the game. But I thought that our best players, the best you can say about them was that they were okay. I think Poor might have gotten you one vote in this game. Such was the rankings of the rest of the 17. So yeah, it's a tough one as Mother pointed out in terms of trying to award a 3-2-1. Once again, there was a couple that refused to give votes and didn't really want to do it, and threw the toys out of the cot, and eventually they yielded and sent me
Sort of like Ben Hunt did.
Yeah, that's it. All right, into the bit of an ad. Hasman, you've got the Mad Dragons vodcast shirt on there, so
I do.
Give us a plug.
Yeah, no, they're good quality shirts. I've washed it probably a dozen times now, and it's not nowhere near fading. Didn't shrink or anything. It's good quality merch. Get into it.
Oh, at least you wash yours, not like the soap dodge and Pom Big T. Where is he? I wish he was on. That would have been. No, there are obviously many ways you can support the Mad Dragons vodcast. Choose the one that suits you best. You can become a member of the show, which is gets you some merchandise among other benefits by going to patreon.com/the Mad Dragons vodcast. And selecting the membership package that suits you. You can also go to Etsy and just buy the merch as a standalone offer, as Hasman has done. So yeah, you can get all your Mad Dragons vodcast swag, or if you would like to sponsor a segment. So for instance, Jags Dragons Trivia, if you'd like to supply a prize for that particular segment, that the person that gets the trivia questions right on a Tuesday night, then again, get in touch with us. We can personalise a sponsorship package to suit you, whether that's your live reads on the vodcast, or maybe some fire up videos to try and promote your products. Reach out, get in touch. All right, moving now into some moments of the match. Now, Hasman, I don't want to spend too much time going through this match with a fine-tooth comb, but I think Tyrell Sloan has become a real talking point in the aftermath and is really dividing the opinion of Dragons fans. He scored an early try and looked ultra dangerous in attack in the opening 20 minutes or so. But some of his defence and kick defusal has once again got some fans calling for his immediate sacking. Is Sloan the future, or is he a downright imposter with no business as an NRL fullback?
I think he's definitely has business being an NRL fullback. If I could just go back to what I said about Flanagan, bringing in these defensive guys, I think that'll probably help him as well. I think he just sort of runs out of puff sometimes, as they pretty much all do. But he is very susceptible to sort of moments of, like any other fullback, some of these balls that he drops, you or I wouldn't bloody drop them, I don't think. He just needs to work on his defense and get a little bit more involved in attack when the forwards are looking to offload, when the halfback, whether that's Hunt or Sullivan or whoever it is, he has got to be right there looking for it the exact way that all these fullbacks do, bloody, what's his face from Brisbane, who got in a little bit of trouble today for saying something not too nice to the referee, Reese, whatever his name is. And
Wake up, man.
Reese Walsh, that's him. And you see James Tedesco as well. He's right in the action whenever there's the possibility of an offload. He's always sniffing around there. That's what Sloan needs to do as well. But no, he's with a decent coach like we've got next year. I reckon we'll start to see some improvement in a lot of areas.
Yeah, I think some of the criticism of Sloan's been a little unfair. Yes, he's not a very good defender, but I think he's probably a better defender than Reece Walsh. Walsh is terrible, and no one mentions it because he's so good in attack and he does all these other great things that make up for it. I think Sloan has similar sorts of abilities. I think he can be an absolutely wonderful attacking weapon. He's never going to be good in defence. He never will be. Just forget about it. That's not going to be a strength of his game ever. Yes, he'll work on it. Yes, he may get slightly better, but it's never going to be a key aspect of his game. What we need to see from Sloan is that he makes up for those deficiencies with attacking brilliance. And he did that, I think, in the opening 20 minutes, but then he fades out of games. And that's just something young players tend to do. And I think with more experience, he will get over that and become more involved as he gets a bit older. But I think in general, I think you need to recognise what he's good at and what he's never going to be a great defensive player. But there are plenty of other fullbacks that are not great defensive players that you don't even talk about their defence. You don't even talk about how woeful Reece Walsh is defensively, because it doesn't matter because of all the great things that he is capable of doing. Muzza?
No, I was just going to touch on that. You're saying that he fades in and out of games, and that's got a lot to do with the way the team's playing too. Like if we can get a forward pack that's moving forward, 95% of the time, then the halves and him trying into the back line, you're going to see a lot more of it. And he's not going to fade in and out as much as we are when we're getting, we're on the back foot. It doesn't give your fullbacks the opportunity to chime in and shine, for 90% of the game. But hopefully with the new coaching staff, that will change the way we play, and we get a bit of a roll on, get a couple of big forwards, and these young fellas can hopefully start to show this stuff. But yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with the way the team's playing, obviously.
I think that's a really fair point too, mate. I mean, we've talked already, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about how our forward pack got absolutely dominated. We got smashed at the ruck, and whenever you lose the ruck, it doesn't matter how good your backs are. It doesn't matter how good your fullback is. He's not going to be able to have any sort of impact when your forwards are getting completely dominated like that. And the same goes for the halves. I know there's probably a fair bit of criticism for Ben Hunt's performance, but Ben Hunt's performance was on the back of a pack that was absolutely annihilated. So again, I don't know that there was much that he could do about it. But Jesse?
Well, people say we were dominated in the forward pack, but you look at the Warriors pack, no credit's really been given to them. Like they steamrolled us up the middle, they magged around easily up the park, and I've been shocked with the way they've been going this year. And they've been real little surprise packets. That credit to them. I think the way they're playing, they're bound for semi-final footy. The way they're playing it, and it's the way it's been tough for them the last 3 years, and they look like they're going to play semi-final football. And it's good to see the Warriors actually
semi-final football, mate. I think they're a top 4 team. I think they are a genuine threat to the premiership the way that they are looking. Like that forward pack is legit. There is not too many people that are going to get the better of that pack. Like they're a good team. Yeah,
exactly. We were poor, but I think Warriors didn't let us in the game as well. Like 20-12, we'll probably touch on that later, but we were starting to come back, and then they just got back-to-back tries and then ran away with it again. The way Johnson's playing, he's in vintage form, and they could be a smoky. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, again, Johnson's form coincides with playing behind a good pack. And I think that's just a key factor for the Dragons. If we get a good forward pack, like if and we'll talk about it a bit later, I'm getting ahead of myself, but if we get rid of Ben Hunt and get in 2 or 3 mongrels in our forward pack and make our forwards an elite force, we'll be better off with Jaden Sullivan at halfback and a good forward pack than we are right now with Ben Hunt and a shithouse pack. Like, the forward pack is crucial to your halves being able to be successful and to have a good time and to actually win games of rugby league. So I think there's a lot to break down and a lot of improvements we can make with that sort of $950,000 that we might have to spend in the not too distant future. Jesse, I'll stay with you. 25 minutes into this game, we led 6 points to 4. It's hard to remember back to that point when we were in front and feeling confident. But once again, we had that sort of big lapse that we seem to have in just about every game, where we concede tries in bunches, with the Warriors striking 3 times in just 7 minutes. What do you put this regular occurrence down to?
I think it's fitness. Our team lacks really match fitness. They're not match fit. I don't know if it's the way they train or the way they defend, but I put it down. Well, I'll allude to the defense, because the defense, they're really standoffish. They always wait for the opposition team to run. They've been doing it for a number of years, not just this season, and it's really alarming that they wait for these big forward packs to steamroll them, and then by the time they see them, they're already at the try line and they're already with them, and it's too late to make the tackle.
Well, do you find that a bit oxymoronic, that or maybe just plain old moronic, the fact that we sit back and wait on our heels in the middle of the field, and then on the edges they jam in and fly up out of the line and leave 2 on none on the outside?
Yeah.
In one part of the field they're flying up, on the other part they're staying back. It's not effective.
No, it's a very disjointed defensive line, and as you said, like the centers and wingers, they're always leaving gaps. And what Tenny Zalesniak made on Matt Fiona looked very pedestrian the other night, scoring 4 tries. And where Tenny Zalesniak's been around for a long time, he's never scored 4 tries in a game. And then Ravalawa, again, he's another one. He ran off the wing quite a few times as well. So yeah, this defensive really needs to be overhauled once Flanagan gets in the job, because they've got to get out of this system. And I don't actually have that in the agenda, but is that on Matt Feeney? Is it on him jamming in? Because a lot of people saying he's got to go, but every wing we've had for 10 years has done this. Like every winger we've had for a long time seems to jam in, make the wrong decisions. We used to criticise the shit out of Ewan Aitken in the centres for flying up out of the line. Jason Nightingale at the back end of his career all of a sudden started doing it. Like every winger we have had in the last 10 years or so has jammed up out of the line and has left the winger unmarked again and again and again. Is it Matt Feeney's fault, or do we bring somebody else in and exactly the same thing keeps happening with everyone we bring in? Yeah, well, I think, you say, like, we've had Tautau Mo. I think he's been standing defence when he's had his opportunity, but I don't know if he gets any game time anymore this year, because they're probably looking at moving him on at the end of this year. Ravalawa is the same. He's a player that he's had trouble defending as well. Like he probably he can score tries, but he lets in just as many. So but as you said, it's been a problem for a number of years. Whether Flanagan can identify that.
Just on Matty Feeney, did he do this a lot last year? I don't seem to recall him doing it all that often last year. And all of a sudden this season, we've got a new defensive coach and he's been horrible. Like, do we need to start putting some pressure on Ben Wolf as the defensive coach?
Well, yeah, you'd have to. Like, obviously he's trying to prove himself, and Flanagan is still looking for around his 2 new assistants, and if he doesn't improve, like he'll Flanagan will look to bring his own men in, and Wolf will no longer have a job at the Dragons. Obviously, yeah, Flanagan wants to bring his own men in, and he wants to. When he was coaching, he what he wanted most was defence, and we need to get back to being a real defensive side if we're going to win a lot more games in this competition. Because right now we're probably arguably one of the worst defensive sides, and we leaked 50 points last Friday night. If you count Johnson's missed
No.
kicks and
No, we didn't. We can still win the comp, mate. It wasn't 50. Hasman?
Yeah, I just wanted to double down on that and say that I don't think there's a single member of the Dragons organization whose name is Ben that should have a bloody job next year apart from Ben Cray on the board, and even that's dicey. You know, Murdoch, Masella, Hunt,
Aaron.
but they can, as far as I'm concerned, they can all piss off. I think that everyone called Ben is an absolute bloody shocker this year.
Yeah, well, you might be onto something, mate. Maybe you're onto something. All right, Chloe. Just sort of getting back to the actual game, when Zane Musgrove scored to make it 20 points to 12, with the Warriors down to 12 men, at that point, did you think there was a glimmer of hope and that the Dragons could get back into it?
Yes, I was hoping. I was like, yes, there's one less on the field. Let's do this. I was really hoping that there was something positive to come out of that from our team, but yeah, I was like, come on, boys, come on. Just try and lead. Come on, let's get up there. I was in fantasy land.
Yeah, I got to say at halftime, I don't know that I've been less confident at halftime. It was only 20-6, but it just felt like the Warriors were well and truly on top. But when they did get that sin bin again, hoping against hope, as having faith in the absolute impossible when everything points to the other direction. But yeah, it wasn't to be. Rob Saguna says that maybe Moses Mbai's middle name is Ben.
Well, he certainly lets the attacking side part him like the Red Sea. So I've started to go off Moses Sully, to be honest. I think he's more trouble than he's bloody worth. Yeah, I mean, Ben Harron, Ben Wolf, Ben Hunt. You know, I think Ben Cray is probably the only person on the board that knows a thing about bloody football. But those three bands can definitely, they can go bye-byes.
Jack Bird can go with them.
Yeah, let's swap one Jack for another. Let's swap Jack Bird for Jackson Ford.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of Jacks last year, didn't we? Jackson Ford, Jack Gachewski, we had them all. But got rid of a couple. Maybe there's another to go in the not too distant future. All right. A question that we got through from a fan, Muzzer, was Mad Lad, wants to know if you think Billy Burns gets a new contract with the Dragons for next year.
Look, you wouldn't think so. I've got a feeling this question was chucked in just because of everybody's love affair with him, but I don't know where that question came out of, Donny. But look, you wouldn't think so. But with Flano coming in, the things that we have to change. Unfortunately for big bad bustling Burnsy, I think his days in the Dragon jersey are over, and rightly so. Look, we really need some, as we've touched on it a dozen times already just this show. We need some big boppers in the forward pack. We need some blokes to get that pack moving so the backs can work off it. And Burnsy is a reserve grader at best. I think he's shown that. I haven't minded him filling in and doing his thing with the first grade side, but he just hasn't been brilliant, and I don't see him being a part of Flanagan's plans. Yeah,
I still think Billy Burns is in our best 17 this year, but I can't. There's no way he gets a contract next year. There's no way he gets an extension. This is his last year. This is his last year at the Dragons. I don't know where he'll end up after that. Probably over in the Super League somewhere. But Jesse, Mad Lad wants to know if we still expect the Dragons to be a competitive team in the NRLW with the loss of so much experience.
That's too hard to say at the moment. We haven't even seen, they haven't even kicked the ball in the season yet. We haven't seen the other teams go. So ask me that in about 6 weeks. I don't really know at this stage.
Yeah, I think my opinion is that I think we're going to struggle. I think Racine McGregor's obviously a huge signing. I think we've got some talent in the side, but in terms of the forward pack, it is a very young forward pack, and we're asking a hell of a lot from that young side. And I think even our spine overall, I think our spine looks pretty solid, pretty competitive. But it's the forwards that again, I think there's a lot of very, very talented young girls in that side. But yeah, I think we're asking a hell of a lot of them to expect them to be able to compete at NRLW level straight away. It might be a rebuilding season. Most of them have got sort of multi-year contracts and all that sort of stuff, and so I think that there's going to be some good signs for the future. But yeah, if I was to give my opinion right now, I think strap yourselves in. It's going to be a tough one with the women as well. I think we'll win a couple of games here and there, but I don't think we're going to be one of the top sides in the comp.
Yeah, I think that's just exciting. Like, we've got a lot of exciting youngsters there. Like you mentioned, like Tara McGrath-West's one. She's only 21. Tyler Nathan Wong's going to be exciting. I think she'll have that pairing with Racing McGregor. Our last rugby sevens convert did seem to be a slash from Emma Tonegado. So hopefully she's proves just as worthy. And I'm excited to see Tegan Berry light up at fullback if she gets the chance to wear the number one. And then you throw in Bobby Law as well as the experienced centre in the game. She'll bring a lot of experience to these younger outside backs as well. And it's going to be an interesting year, but hopefully they can jag a few wins. It's a very young side. Who knows? They may surprise a lot, but that may be something we can ask Jamie Soward when down the track.
Yeah, well, it's again, it's last time I was pessimistic about the girls' season. We made a grand final, so maybe it'll turn out the same again. There's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of unknowns in every team in terms of how new combinations and all that are going to go. So I think it's going to be an interesting year. My initial read, though, is that we're going to be sort of down near the bottom half of the ladder for this 2023 season. We did have one more viewer question from Everything NRL. It had a lot of stuff about Ben Hunt that we will get into a bit later. So we're going to incorporate that a bit later on. But we haven't skipped over you or ignored you. We're just we're going to talk about that a bit later on in the show. So for now, we're going to get into some lower grades. First of all, I might just show the video. And this time I'm actually going to turn the sound off, and we can just chat. I'll chat about it as we're sort of watching it, which works a little bit better for the actual the podcast version. But yeah, just having a look. So first try for the New Zealand Warriors. They stand up Max Feeney. There's a big Superman dive there from Paul Turner. But this turned out to be actually a crucial play from Sione Finau, chasing there, keeps him out wide. Given we end up winning by 2 points and they miss that goal, that's an absolutely crucial play. Soft try there for Ryan Couchman. This one, again, a little bit of a ricochet, and then they come back to this side of the field and just create some numbers again. Wingers and centres a long way in field without any great need to be. An error there from Dan Russell, and the Warriors pretty quickly capitalised on that, and they led 16 points to 6 at half time over in New Zealand, a young side. And then this happened. Sione Finau, we saw this last week. We've seen it again. An intercept, plenty of speed, and races the length of the field to score. And then this one from Zach Herring, the match winner. Show and go, slices over to score, and the Dragons get a really good win. As I say, basically the entire team, a really, really young team. It was good to see them head over to New Zealand and get the win against a top 5 team. Hasman, one person who actually watched this full game. Obviously, I only got to see the highlights, and most other people only got to see the highlights. They've observed that the defensive structures in New South Wales Cup teams seem to have changed since Hook has been sacked, and it appears to be more effective. So when Hook was there, basically the reserve grade side defended in exactly the same way as the top grade side. Now they don't. They seem to hold their width, hold their shape, stay on their man, and it seems to be working for them. Do you think the NRL coaching staff might need to have a look at the improved defence on the edges in the lower grades and maybe make some similar adjustments?
Well, they've got to try something, and if that's working at lower grades, there's no harm in trying it with the big boys. But I mean, who actually comes up with the defensive structures? For that side.
What, for the reserve grade side?
Do they have the same sort of defensive coach setup that the NRL side has, or is that all down to Bronx Goodwin?
Well, I know Goodwin's the head coach, but I'd imagine he has some assistants at reserve grade level as well. I'm not sure who they are, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I'd probably suggest that Ryan Carr have a bit of a chat with Bronxy and get some tips off him as to we can sort of get things moving a bit better, because what's working in reserve grade probably should be at least tried at NRL level. If what we're doing at NRL level is not working, which it's obviously not. So what's the harm in trying?
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. Look at what's working and maybe try and implement that, particularly when it's not working for the NRL side. Jesse?
Well, actually, we've been chatting about it for a few weeks now, but why some of these outstanding New South Wales Cup players aren't getting looked at by the NRL side. I just come across this little bit of a spiel from the our friends at the Red V podcast earlier today. So this is what he's take on it. I don't know if it's any fact to it, but I found it interesting. So he said a bit of an update in regards to New South Wales Cup players not being promoted to the NRL side. It all surrounds finances at the Dragons. If a player is promoted to play NRL, they are owed 3 to 5K in match payments depending on their contract. Now, if a player that has played 10 New South Wales Cup games, promoted to NRL and plays 10 games, that takes effect on our cap for next year, effectively costing them $150,000. Not to mention the 3 to 5K per game plus times 10. So for what it's worth, I think the club should be blooding some of these guys for the experience, regardless of the cost. And the fact that it has become a financial issue shows where the club's heart is at. Yesterday, for example, Toby Couchman finished the game with 60 tackles, and Ryan Couchman ran for 259 meters. These are the types of guys that should at least get the shot in the games left this year in preparation for 2024.
Yeah, mate, that is, again, it is something we've spoken about a number of times before about any of these players are eligible to now play NRL, but the impact it has on the cap both this year and next year is something that the club has to factor in. So if they're going to start naming players that aren't in the top 30, then it starts impacting the cap next year. So again, it's a matter of weighing up. Do you impact what you've got next year for a season that's already gone to try and get some minutes into some blokes, or do you go, this year's stuff, let's not screw up next year. Let's just use the 30 players that we've got and start with a clean slate next year. It's a difficult one to try and navigate, but I tend to agree with Jack's thinking that these guys are ready now. Let's get them some time, because getting them some minutes now is going to benefit us next year, regardless of what impact it has on the cap. I think for too often the Dragons have been absolute penny pinchers in this regard, and every other club is using players from outside their top 30. Whenever they need to, any player that's ready, they bring them straight in. They don't worry about what impact it has on the cap now or in the future. They work out a way to make it work, and they create these great players, and that's why we're sitting down near the bottom. Well, not near the bottom, we are the bottom. We're back in last. So yeah, again, I think the club's going the wrong way about it. I can understand that that is a lot more complicated than we can probably understand. We don't have access to all the books and all the knowledge of everything that everybody gets paid and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, from the outsider looking in, I think we've got to start using some of these players. Jesse?
Well, it's been said time and time again, but do you think player salary should be made public? I was watching a little bit of the footy show today, and Andrew Johns reckons that will be made better, so we have a rough idea of what each player at each club is roughly on per year.
No, then what the fuck are we going to talk about? that's half the fun of what we do. We just get on here and guess what people are getting paid and talk out our ass. And you know, I think Ben Hunt's been on everything from $1.5 million to 900,000 in his time at the Dragons. It's no one actually knows exactly what he's on, but everyone says it so authoritatively and so convincingly. Oh, Ben Hunt's on 1.2 million. It's like, how the fuck would you know? Nobody knows what he's on. So yeah, again, I don't think player salaries should be. I don't think there's any need to make them public. I think I can understand why fans want it to be public because it's an interesting talking point, but we talk about it anyway, even though it's not public. I don't know. Do you want to tell me what your salary is?
I was going to say, do we all want to know? People want to know what we're on and what you're making? That's their business, I think.
I'm a low incomer, so no one can. No, thank you. No, no.
Yeah. Muzzo staying on the New South Wales Cup team. Very young side, pretty much the entire team between 18 and 22 years of age. The only players over the age of 22, I think, in this team were Dan Russell and Nick Luitoso. Not exactly household names. So very, very young side. Makes the win even more impressive. But is there any particular player in this team that you think should be in the NRL side for this weekend, for Thursday night's game?
Well, yeah, I think Jesse probably just touched on it there. And what you just said there, the ages of those blokes that you said that in our chat too. And yeah, that was pretty surprising. It's, that's a look at the future again with what we've got down there and the way they're performing now. But certainly, obviously, the Couchman boys definitely deserve a shot in the top grade. Obviously, Ryan, we've had
Toby,
we've already he's already had his shot and gone okay. The Sione Finau, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
He over the last couple of weeks, what he's dished up in reserve grade and what we've had dished up in first grade, you would think that he's going to get a shot. Look, just how explosive he is. I think he's run for 450, 60 meters in the last two games. 8, 10, 12 tackle busts. Obviously, he's very aware with a couple of intercepts as well. He's got a bit of toe about him, which we've all been saying that we lack in the back line. If there's a bloke in the back line that deserves a shot, it's got to be him. Obviously, the Catchman boys are obvious inclusions that we sort of need to give a run, and we just touched on the salary cap being a little bit all over the place, and a couple of things that we didn't realise. But for what it's worth, to give these blokes 4 or 5 games leading into the back end of the year, if we don't do that, we're not going to know if they're going to have a shot. Like they're just playing reserve grade. They're reserve graded. So we give them a shot in A grade. In first grade, we know that they're going to be worth investing in. And that's the only for now. I think it's got to be a certainty to have a shot.
Yeah, I think quite often when you start bringing up reserve grade statistics, people say, "Oh, but they only did it in reserve grade." So where else are they supposed to do it? Like, that's the only level where they've got to be the most impressive they can be there, and that's the only place where you can judge them as to whether they should be making the step up. And I don't care what the level is. You've got, who was it, Ryan or Toby? Ryan ran for 254 metres. Toby ran for 244 metres. Both of them playing 80 minutes as front rowers. It's pretty impressive as 19-year-olds. I think they are massively in our future. And I think Sione Finau's a good shout as well. He's come on in leaps and bounds over the course of the season. I think his improvement has been out of sight. You mentioned his tackle busting, which is obviously a really impressive feature of his game. But probably something that we've seen in the last couple of weeks is that speed that we didn't really get a chance to see. I hadn't really seen it too much through the early part of the season, but definitely over the last couple of weeks, we've seen him in open space, and he's got some real wheels. Jesse?
I've seen a lot of people commenting on the pages too. Trey Stewart, why isn't he being looked at? And then another one who's been impressive in recent weeks in the 6th role, Zach Herring.
Yeah, well, he's actually been playing 7 because we don't have any halves in the lower grades at all. So he's normally a 6, but yeah, I think Zach Herring's been really impressive. He's one of those players that, for whatever reason, the head honchos don't seem to rate him as. Every time I see him play, I'm really impressed by what he does. I'm impressed with him as a ball player. I think he's got a decent kicking game. He's got a good running game. He scored that match-winning try. As it turned out, it was about 25 minutes before full time when he scored that try, but ended up being the match winner. And and he's really good defensively. I think he only had 1 missed tackle in this game, and that's crucial as a half. And that's been one of the big things that we sort of see with a lot of halves is that they struggle a bit defensively. And Zach Herring, he seems to hold his own defensively. He's obviously not going to be a world beater as a halfback, but yeah, he's very, very solid defensively. I think he can go all right. Trey Stewart has been sort of put in the chat. He said he can't play international games though. He doesn't have a passport, so that's the reason why he didn't play in this particular contest. Apparently, there was a few players in the Dragons team that didn't play in this one because they didn't have their passport sorted prior to the game. Trey Stewart seems to be the one that was the last one left out of the team because of it. So I'm not sure whether he didn't tell anyone or whatever, but I'm assuming there was a few others. Viliami Fafita didn't play in this game. I'd imagine Tautau Moga surely got a passport, and there was other reasons why he didn't play. But a few blokes that probably should have played in this game and didn't. So yeah, it's again a poor indictment on our club that they weren't sort of looking after this. But at the same time, these are adult men that should know you need a passport when you're going to New Zealand in a couple of weeks. But Hazmat?
Yeah, just on that, whose responsibility would it be to make sure that if you know that you've got a game, in New Zealand in X number of weeks, whose responsibility is it to make sure that all the players that could conceivably be selected for that game do have the necessary passport to be able to go over there? Who does have that responsibility?
I think that's me. I've got no idea. I don't know the individual's name. It would be a manager or Ben Harron. Let's just say Ben Harron because we fucking hate him.
I think it would be up to the individual though, wouldn't you? At first, because if they want to go over the sea themselves, they still need a passport anyway. Like when they're away from the team and on holidays, you still need a passport to go overseas. And how can you go overseas without a passport? I mean, I think that's on the person first, and then the club should have looked into it. Like, make sure everyone has the passport before they make the trip. Like maybe a few weeks in advance, so they can plan it, or I can organise this for you. We can. Anyone else does it?
Has anybody ever gone away, like overseas for work? Like when I went overseas for work, the employer asked 1,000 times, making sure that I had a passport and that it was all in date and that it wasn't going to run out within 6 months before they checked on everything 18 times. I would imagine the Dragons should be doing the same thing. Muzza?
Can I use my analogy? You've already heard it. It's like we're going on a family cruise. My daughter's 22. If she rocks up and she's got a passport on her, I'm going to say to her, "You idiot!" But then I'm going to blame the missus for not making sure we all had one. So it comes from the top.
Yeah, that's it. It's always the boss's fault at the end of the day. But, a couple of people asking about the Manly guys as well. Obviously, Viliami Fafita didn't play in this game. Alec Tuatavake, he got his first starting game in this game. So started, but still only played 31 minutes. In those 31 minutes, ran for 133 metres. So had a pretty good work rate. 22 tackles without a miss as well. So it was a pretty solid outing in his first starting game, and they're pretty decent numbers. Again, it's not Couchman Brothers numbers that are absolutely storming the castle, but I think that's good enough to be asking a question given how some other players are going at the moment. All right, staying on the lower grades, we don't get a chance to do this very often because we don't often have the highlights available, but just wanted to go through the under 21s, the Jersey Flegg highlights. So we'll just have a bit of a look at this. So yeah, this is up against the Melbourne Storm down in Melbourne. Here's a really good strong run from Bryce Magnoni. Just carries three players another 10-15 metres, and then on the back of that, Nick Quinn, show and go. He slices through. I love his face as he throws the money ball to Harry Rudd to set up that try. Then the next try, it was Webster tips it on to Tom Phillips, and Phillips again, good post contact meters, drives towards the try line, fights to get up, and then a nice Harbour Bridge pass here over to Benny Johnson. He draws the winger and puts Cooper Roberts over. Ashton Ward, a great line here from Ben Johnson. Again, drawing past the fullback, and Cooper Roberts gets his second try of the game. And now we get to see a little bit of speed, this time from our fullback, Ben Rumble. I'm not sure why he's defending there on the last tackle, but glad he was. Perfect positioning, picks it up, and look at that lanky kid go. Strides away. The fullback tries to keep him out wide, but he's having none of that. Brings it around, dots it down beside the post. So again, a really good performance there from our Jersey Flegg side as well. So similar assignment to the New South Wales Cup side. They up against a top 5 team on the road. The Melbourne Storm had won 6 in a row going into this game, and headed down to Melbourne to take them on, and always in control, winning that game 22 points to 12. We've just got a question in the chat from Jesse. Jesse wants to know what we think of Mary being linked with the Newcastle job with Adam O'Brien under pressure. I'll go to you, Jesse. What are your thoughts on it? I couldn't really give a shit, but
yeah, this question was just sent to me, so I don't really, I haven't really thought about it. That's news to me. To be honest, I didn't think he'd get another opportunity as an NRL coach after what happened with us. But if he goes for the job, good luck to him because he's a great bloke. Obviously, it didn't work out here with us, but if he gets that job, good luck to him. I hope it goes well for him. And yeah, I'd love to see him get another crack in the NRL and see how he goes. But yeah, hasn't happened yet. So
if it does happen, I would just say, good luck, Newcastle. Suckers. Hasman?
Yeah, just I was going to say a similar sort of thing. Look, if Newcastle want to go with him, I mean, his record with us, plus, I mean, he's actually an assistant coach for New South Wales Origin as well. We know how that's bloody worked out. So if they want to go ahead with that, that's their funeral, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I really couldn't give a toss either way, to be honest.
Yeah, let other teams would do whatever other teams are going to do, and if they want to repeat our mistakes, then far be it from me to talk them out of it. Chloe, one forced change. So moving into some forced and unforced changes. One forced change for Thursday will be Moses Sully, who will miss the game with concussion. Who do you think comes in for Sully?
I have 3 options. Now, one of the Max Bahey, I think maybe he might come in. Moga, I don't know if he's back, Moga, or Jack Bird, but I don't know about Jack Bird. That's all I got. That's all I think. What does everyone else think? Because I was thinking about this the whole time, who could replace, who else. Jack Bird's a bit slow. I don't think he's fit enough to be there. the Phenine twins, mate, like Max, he's on and off. Moga, I know he's injured. What does everyone think? I like open discussion now. That's all I got.
I think Moga.
Yeah. Is he back?
I think he is. He played yesterday in the cup
No,
game.
he missed the cup game. I'm not sure exactly why. All I got told is it was personal reasons. So I don't know if that's an ongoing personal issue or that's just a short-term thing, and he'll be back this week. Again, my understanding is it's not an injury. He's not injured, but he missed the game on the weekend for reasons unknown. So yeah, I would say he would be available, and he looks the best option, I guess. But we've used Max Phenine in that position earlier in the season. Maybe he gets another chance. I know there'll be a lot of Dragons fans that don't particularly like that as an option. I guess the other one is you could bring Matty Phenine, could move one in, and we could use Sione Finau on the wing. So we could, there's got to be a change there somehow. I think Jack Bird's an interesting one, Chloe. It's one that I don't think anybody's going to like that option, but
no.
Someone with experience to plug that hole. Again, I don't know that there's a great deal of good options.
Finau makes sense.
Yep.
Finau makes sense. He's always in there.
Yeah.
He's always bloody in the centres defending anyway. So
yeah, well that's
I
it.
wouldn't have them together. I wouldn't have them together. But they were the last time they played together. They were torn apart. I wouldn't have the twins together if Max gets recalled.
Moses and Moga to the centres is another suggestion that's in the chat.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, Moses. Yeah.
No, not in the starting team.
Please no.
It's going to give us something to talk about on Tuesday, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's an interesting one to think of. I don't know that any of them are good options. Like, in terms of what they're likely to do, none of the ones that they're likely to actually do excite me at all. Like the only ones that the only one that I actually like the sound of is maybe moving Matty Phenine into the centres and Sione Finau on the wing. That gives us somebody different that we haven't had a chance to look at before, and we don't know if it's going to work or not. So you can maybe conjure up some sort of positivity out of it. But
well, what about your man, Donny? What about Bird? Leave Bird in the centres and bring your man in on an edge.
Well, just put Billy Burns in the centres, mate.
Would you do that? Do you like him in the centres? Very surprised at that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking through, trying to find in the comments. But Tau Moga, to me, that seems a pretty straight swap. A guy that's playing pretty good footy and has been good when he's been given the opportunity in the past. He's got that experience. He's played plenty of centres in his career. That seems an obvious swap if he is available.
Is he part of the future though?
No. Well, he's another one that I don't think is going to get a contract.
That's what I mean. So, we're better off throwing someone here that could be a part of the future.
Yeah. Well,
round 18, we're going nowhere. We need to look forward to see what we're going to come up with, what we've got.
That's one of those beautiful situations that Ryan Carr's going to find himself in, that no matter what he does, someone on this panel is going to think he's an absolute goose for doing it. There's no winning. There's no winning no matter what he decides to do, I think. Hasman, definitely getting a few comments about this guy. Jack Bird did not look 100% on Friday night after returning from a few weeks out with a knee injury. In fact, he looked like a complete passenger. Do you think he's still in the 17 for Thursday night? And if not, who replaces him?
I honestly don't think he should be there. If he does end up going to centre, I don't think Brian Carr's that stupid, but if he has a few beers the night before and decides, that's what I'm going to put in, then I think the only viable option is to bring in your man Billy Burns, who's been ripping it up in New South Wales Cup for several weeks now, and although it doesn't seem to, sort of translate into NRL as we've seen. But as you've said before, he's the only specialist edge back rower that we have on that side. So, for me, that'd almost be a no-brainer. But I mean, we're not dealing with, not dealing with geniuses on the coaching staff here. With all due respect to Ryan Carr, is on hiding to nothing pretty much. But I'd just bring Burnsy in.
Jesus Christ, Hasman, you've given me that answer way easier than I hoped. Like, my next three questions are all about the players we're going to scratch to try and bring Burns in. You've just given it to me with the first one. Spoiling all my fun. No, I think you're probably right. I mean, if I honestly think that, and again, Jack Bird's copping a lot of shit for his performance on the weekend. I think his knee injury is a lot worse than we've been led to believe. Knee soreness. I think there's something a lot more going on there. I know he copped a knock in a tackle and he was complaining about that, but he should have been dragged off in that game. He was not right.
And we only used 4 interchanges in that game too.
Yeah. See, that was strange.
That
couldn't work
can't
that
be
one
right.
out.
That's
true.
Right. That's the official stat.
Yep. I didn't see too many interchanges used either. I was at the game and I didn't see too many people come off it at the time either.
So what? Why? Why would we only use 4 interchanges the whole game? Did the coach forget he was allowed to sub players
Use
on
the
and off?
8. I don't know.
That's hook type stupidity.
Well, that's not even hook type stupidity. That's the dumbest thing that any coach in the last 10 years has ever done.
Yeah,
4
interchanges.
interchanges.
Yeah,
Out of 8.
NRL website says that the Warriors used 8 and we used 4.
Yeah, that doesn't. Okay, that's
And one of those was for Sully.
Question.
no, that one wouldn't have counted.
Why couldn't we bring in Jaden Hunt if Sully was taken out for foul play?
We
Why
could,
couldn't
and
we-
that's again. They said that on the coverage that activates the 18th man because it was foul play and he's ruled out for the game. The 18th man was activated and available. We'd never used him, or we didn't know that we could use him. Again, the club's a fucking rabble, mate. They have no idea what they are doing.
You think this is on Ben Heron or Ryan Carr? Because
Well,
Ben Heron's obviously the bucket of the
Heron.
orders all time.
No, that's got to be on that's got to be on the head coach, mate. Ryan Carr's the acting head coach. He's the guy that's that's his job as the head coach. And I know he's inexperienced, but he's got the job. He's got the role, and I think you've got to hold him accountable when he makes mistakes like that. Only using 4 interchanges, not knowing that he could use the 18th man, that they were activated. We're getting absolutely towelled up too. Like, they looked tired, they looked exhausted. It's no bloody wonder. They only use half the interchanges we're allowed to. Like, I don't understand that at all. Anyway, well, that's what the NRL site says. I find it hard to believe, but we'll no doubt hear more about that in days and weeks to come. Where are we up to? We did the Jack Bird one. Jesse, Hasman's already given me the answer I want, but we probably should discuss it. Jaden Sewer was probably another one that at different stages didn't look like he was at full fitness. I don't think he's quite as bad as Jack Bird, but if both second rowers are out injured, what do you think the edge looks like on Thursday?
I honestly don't know. Do you look at Ben Murdoch-Masila? Billy Burns is another option. There's not too many players there screaming out, I want to be picked in the first grade side, but you'd have to think they couldn't do any worse than the other night. But Couchman, yeah, I'd look at recalling Couchman. Good suggestion there, Muzz. I'd look at him definitely. He's been tearing up. I don't think he's been doing anything all that bad when he had his chance in the top grade. And I think he deserves another crack. Planning for the future, we've got to blood him and get him more minutes and trying to impress Shane Flanagan because he's going to be watching every game for the rest of the year. And
again, would you do that to them though? Like they've been playing exclusively through the middle of the field in reserve grade, and you're going to bring him up and play him in a different position in NRL?
Well, I mean,
I know they played in the edge before, and they consider themselves to be edge forwards. So give him a chance, but
just give him some minutes. Yeah, I think they should be given time in the top grade because, again, Flanagan's going to want to have a look at these players and see if they see how he's going to use them next year. Because as we've touched on, Flanagan's going to be looking at these games very closely now that he's the head coach next year, and he'll be looking to see what the makeup of his side will look like, and he'll want to see if these blokes can impress and push for a regular spot in the 17 next year.
Well, you raise an interesting point that I sort of brought up. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I lose track of time, but you mentioned Shane Flanagan's going to be watching it closely. Would Shane Flanagan have a say in this scenario in terms of who he wants to see?
I'd say he'd probably be in regular chat with Ryan Carr and see like who he wants to have a look at. But at the end of the day, I still think it's Ryan Carr who's picking the team. But I think Shane Flanagan may be having some input and seeing who he'd like in the side. But yeah, who knows what Carr and Flano are up to. But obviously he's got a bit of an idea what he wants to do. But as he said today, he wants to address the fitness of the side. So who knows how he wants to make the side look for the last 9 games we've got this year.
I'll go to you, Hasman, but just the general consensus in the chat is that the NRL side is wrong in terms of interchanges, because there's a few people going through counting the ones that actually happened, that they know happened, and they're up to 7 so far. So yeah, I think the NRL site might just have the complete wrong information on there. But
Won't be the first time.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just on Flano, I mean, he's already having a look at him, obviously, if he's identified that, we're just not fit. So what's to say he's not having a look at the sort of other aspects of the team and, making up his mind as to, who he wants to see, this year and how he wants to keep for next year. I reckon he's doing a little bit of work on the side, which had pissed Manly off, but, we don't give a shit about that.
Well, again, another point that I raised last week is why the fuck would Manly keep him on the payroll? Because he's clearly going to be his focus has got to be starting to move towards the big job he's got to do next year. Like his attention's got to be divided. Why do Manly want that? Why wouldn't they just release him straight away? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Flano wants to stay. He wants to.
Yeah, I understand why Flano wants to stay. He's got the best of both worlds. He can identify some talent over there that he can use for next year. He gets to keep his finger in a few different pies and still do his commentary. I understand Flano wants to do everything. Why the fuck do Manly want him there?
Well, maybe they're hoping that when he comes over, he'll bring Woodsy over with him.
Oh no, God help us if he does that.
Yeah.
If he does that, I wouldn't give him 3 weeks, let alone fucking 3 years.
All right, Muzz. I've got a bit of a loaded question for you here, but it's one of my favourites, actually. Ben Murdoch-Masila. We talked a lot about options on the edge. Ben Murdoch-Masila seems an obvious option on one of those edges. But he seems to be playing like a massive pansy. What do we have to do to get the best out of BMM?
I really don't know. I mean, and there's another question I think I got last week around about the same. And it was the fact that, he comes on and he plays 46 minutes or 70 minutes and he's having 5 or 6 runs, and I said last week, it's just not good enough. What do we do to get him going? Keep him in reserve grade? Just tell him to pull his fucking finger out. I don't know. He's got to put a rocket up him somehow, but the bloke's
with Josh Kerr going now, like he's the biggest human we've got. Like he's a mountain of a man that can really cause some damage. But he doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's massive. He's a unit. And like I said, when you look at some of his stats, if he's only run 80 meters, 50 of them are post contact, so he can move the ball, he can bend the line, he can drag them down, but you just got to do it more consistently, get more involved. How do we do that? tough nose.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like we've used him incorrectly while Hook's been there playing on an edge. I don't think is the way to actually fire him up. I think get him running through the middle. I want you to have 15 to 20 runs. Just tuck it under your arm, run it hard and straight, as hard and as straight as you can, straight down the hay a little. Just fire up and show some actual mongrel. Get him in sitting out the edge, trying to use footwork and show us how quick he is for a big man. Who gives a shit? I'll bend the line and hurt someone. That's what we need you for.
Yeah, and he showed he can do it. He can do it. He can do it up the middle and do it, 15 or 16 times instead of 5 or 6. What he needs to be doing.
Yeah. Again, that whole issue of fitness, which we've spoken about a couple of times, and we do have some more chat on it a bit later. But the Dragons just look like an unfit team across the board, and that's I guess part of the reasoning why we struggle in that area. Did I see a hand go up there? Was that Jesse?
Yes.
Yep.
I just have a little bit of a statement, not really. Gal was actually commentating for 9 at the game on Friday night. I didn't hear obviously because I was at the game, but from what I'm hearing, he was very complimentary of us. Is it because
Certainly early on he was very complimentary. It was very hard to be complimentary of the Dragons towards the back end of that game, but he said a lot of nice things very early. Yeah.
Do you think it could be a realistic chance that he may be an assistant to Flano?
Oh, again, we talked about that last week or the last show about the rumor of Paul Gallen coming on as a specialist coach, a forwards coach or something under Flano, and certainly the way he was chatting early on in that game, I thought maybe there is some rumor to it, but I think that's one we let play out, to be honest. I think you can read as much or as little into everybody's comments and commentary as you want. You hear what you want to hear at the end of the day. All right, Chloe, I want you to get your crystal ball out, because we won't know anything at all until at earliest close of business tomorrow. But do you expect Ben Hunt to still be a Dragon by team list Tuesday? And if he's not, how do we line up 6, 7, and 14?
I've been waiting for this question. So folks, buckle up. My rant might be coming. So well, for me, passionately, I hope that he isn't going to be in the team because of all the shit that's going on right now, the saga. Like, I go through the waves of being angry, sad, frustrated. So I hope he's actually in New South Wales Cup. I hope the Dragons play hardball and he has to stay and honour the contract at least till the end of this year, and he can go to New South Wales Cup, because I like the way he's carrying on, and I understand he wants to go home with family. I understand that, but the way his action has done this, and then all this scrutiny, our team, it's always on the news now. We can't be happy and proud of our once lovely club. So he can actually go to New South Wales Cup, do it the hard way, because he's actually checked out. He looked like on Friday night, he's actually just checked out. And we don't want a player to be on that field playing like a piece of shit. And we're already last. We don't need to go down the sailing ship, the barrel of the ship. So 6, I'd love Bud to, but no, 7 will be Bud. 7, I don't know, is Amone back? Where's Amone? I don't know who 6 would be then.
He was the 14 the other night.
Okay, well then maybe Amone can come back. And that's all I have to say. That's all I've got right now. But yes, Jesse, you've got your hand up, my love.
Yes, well, I was at that game on Friday, and when the ground announcer read out his name, there was a deafening silence when his name was read out. So they were cheering for every other name. No, It was just deafening silence.
Wow.
When every other player was read, there was cheers, but the Warriors supporters really were the ones making the noise. We were outnumbered again by noise. Well, you've been at Wynn Stadium a few times as well.
Yeah.
Our home game and the opposition team creating more noise, like the Army wasn't even there as well. So and 2 weeks ago we had a sold out Cogra. and yeah, not even an army or close. I don't know what the total crowd was at Win on Friday night, but
I don't know the exact number. It's about 9,500.
yeah, and it wasn't too bad. It wasn't cold as everyone expected it was going to be. So
I did
yeah.
have a look at some numbers though. I mean that's for whatever reason across both Cogra and Wynn Stadium when we play that 8 p.m. Friday night game, that's about what we get. I think that the last time we played there, it was about 7,500 at Cogra on a 8 p.m. Friday game. So we don't tend to get great numbers in that time slot for whatever reason.
And we've got another game coming up. Our next home game at Win is again at 8 p.m. Friday game against Canberra.
And Ben Hunt won't be there
Cronulla.
because due
State
to
of Origin.
what is it? Yeah, State of Origin. So New South Wales Cup person will be going to Queensland. See ya.
Yeah,
See ya later, mate.
He definitely won't be available for that one. So we'll have a different halves combination for that one, even if he is still at the Dragons. But yeah,
Well, can I ask everyone
maybe
on
the
here?
Broncos will be without Hunt that week.
How do you all feel? Because I actually was crying when I heard stuff on Saturday. Like, I think the emotions is coming out of me, but I was actually crying because I'm just over hearing all this negativity about it. Like I've never experienced, like I've heard Gordon Tallis, but I've never heard, like I've never had a club, like a captain like this do it. You know, like Sonny Bill back in the day. I was shocked when that happened. But how do you guys feel? Like as a Dragons fan, like I'm just like disappointed and really angry. How do you guys feel that our club again in the media for the wrong thing? Anybody, if that makes sense.
It's becoming a regular thing though. Like we're in the media for everything. Yeah. We used to be one of the cleanest clubs in the game many years ago. Like we were always competitive, competing for the premierships, being a top side. It's really sad to see us all in the headlines for the wrong reasons, but rightly so. Our club is so badly run at the moment.
I suppose for me, I mean, the Dragons sell newspapers. The Dragons make people money. Whenever they write a story about the Dragons, people want to talk about it. People want to share it. People want to put it on social media. The Gold Coast sacked their coach. Didn't tell him. Mal Meninga didn't have any idea. There's been a couple of articles, but no one gives a shit about the Gold Coast Titans. No one cares.
Yeah.
It happened on the Gold Coast. So what? Move on.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to write a million stories about it because it doesn't sell newspapers. No one gives a rat's ass what happens on the Gold Coast when it's the Dragons. It's you get punished somewhat for being a big club. You get punished somewhat for being a marketable club for having a passionate fan base. So they know that we will react, and we don't often let them down. So the fact that we are baited so easily and believe absolutely everything negative we read about our club, that's the reason they keep doing it.
Yeah.
You stop believing their bullshit and just wait until the truth comes out, then they'll stop writing it because they only do it because we actually bite.
Well, I actually saw, it's funny you say that, like Blaze, who's been in a couple of times there, that mad sport of the Titans, he's actually, I agree with him, like, don't believe these media bullshit until you actually hear from the clubs involved, because the club will make a statement when the matter is finalised.
Yeah, we say it all the time, but we still get 75 million questions from fans about it, and and other panel members that still want to talk about every little rumor that comes up. Doesn't matter how ludicrous it is. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to chat about it. That's why we've got a program, why we've got a platform, because people are interested in this stuff. They're interested in discussing it and hearing other people's opinions and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, well, we won't move on because the whole next segment is all about Ben Hunt as well. So, hey, you guys keep wanting to talk about it. So this was already in the agenda, but Ben Hunt says he wants to move back to Queensland. The Dragons have a contract. We have the position of power. So there is no way at all we should even consider rolling over and simply letting him walk out the door. We must get something for it. So let's have a look at each of the Queensland-based clubs. That's where he says he wants to go. We're only going to look at the 4 Queensland clubs and work out what would be a fair deal for Ben Hunt for at each of these 4 different clubs. So just looking at straight player swaps, what's going to be a fair deal for the Dragons? And Hasman, let's start with the most likely destination, the Gold Coast Titans. What player or players do you think the Dragons could swap for Ben Hunt that would make the deal fair?
I was hoping you'd ask me this one. So I reckon we've basically got the half situation sorted if Hunt does decide to, disappear. So I'd be looking to get some big boppers up front. So maybe have a look at a Fodawaker or a Faisal Malawi, or ideally both of them. I think that'd be a pretty fair swap. I just want to say Faisal Malawi.
What about Fafita?
Well, for Fafita, obviously, I mean,
Which
again,
one?
I don't think we get both. I don't think we get both Tino and Mo, but if we could get Tino, I think then we'd be happy with that trade. And the same, if we were to get David Fafita, I think we'd be pretty happy with that as well. I think, he's been criticised a lot, but I think his work rate's been really good this season, and he's an incredibly damaging edge back rower. It's certainly an area where we need some strength. Fodawaker's a good player. I think if we get Fodawaker, I'd want somebody else as well on top of that. Maybe a Khan Pereira just solve our speed problem on the edge, maybe, or AJ Brimson to put some, to have him, and then we've got either Sloan or Ramone on the bench. But
well, as someone said, Toby Sexton's been let go, and he's a half.
No.
No,
I don't think he's not better than the 2 we've got.
No, and he's not in the. Well, you couldn't even say he's in the same breath as Ben Hunt. No way.
Well, I think the other one that I sort of look at, and a guy that maybe is a little bit of a forgotten man, is Beau Firma. Was probably the Titans' best player last season. He's done his ACL, so that'd be a bit of a risk. But him on top of a player like an AJ Brimson. Now, if we were to get those 2, again, it's something that I would consider. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on from the Gold Coast Titans, Jesse, looking to the latest suitor, the Brisbane Broncos, although it looks like they only want him for this season, not for the foreseeable future. But in any case, what would you see as a good deal we could get from Brisbane?
Maybe. Well, you look at Adam Reynolds; he's probably in one of the top halfbacks of the game. Maybe even a Kurt Catewell, or even who else is there? Even Payne Haas. Maybe Payne Haas, arguably the best forward in the game. We lack some go forward in our side. I reckon we could do with a player like him, and arguably the best front rower in the game.
Nah, nobody wants Payne Haas, surely.
Pain in the ass, is he?
He's up like. It's a pretty good little storyline, really. Ben Hunt wants to go home to Queensland. Payne Haas wants to come home to New South Wales. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fans actually are calling for straight swap. If they want Ben Hunt, we take Adam Reynolds now. But I can't see that. Brisbane Broncos won't be that silly to let Adam Reynolds go. He's probably the key for them to win the comp if they are going to do that this year.
I don't want Adam Reynolds. I don't want him anyway. Like he's
on the wrong. He's in the same class as Hunt at this stage of his career. He's got
1 year left on his contract, so he's got 1 year less than Ben Hunt on his contract, and then we're sort of back in the same spot. I'd be looking at a younger player, and I'd certainly be looking at forwards. Would be what I'd be sort of.
Paddy Carrigan's another one I'd like
That's
to see
what I
as
was
well.
going to say. Yeah, he's a good one
Good
too.
forward, really underrated forward. well, he's not underrated. I think he gets through his work, and he's been one of the key reasons why Queensland retained this year. He does get through a lot of work, and he really is a future captain of that Brisbane Broncos
Well,
side.
that was exactly what I was just about to say. Swap our captain for their future captain. Fucking brilliant. Fuck the Broncos.
He's already the
Right.
Origin and Test World Cup winner and an Origin win.
James Jimmy Gray's going to be into me about the swear jar this week, I think. But anyway, lighten it up. I
It's
suppose
10 o'clock, Donny. It's 10 o'clock. You know, we're allowed to swear.
It's only 8 o'clock here, but
Oh, yeah, that's right.
but failing Payne Haas, you sort of look through trying to find a fair trade. Again, you're looking at they've got a couple of decent edge forwards, a young guy like Jordan Ricky or a Kurt Capewell, along with someone like Ezra Mam to come in and fill that sort of halves spot. Alongside Jaden Sullivan, but I don't know whether Ezra Mam's actually all that much better than what we've got. But he certainly plays a higher tempo. But I don't know that one works entirely for us. But there's certainly a couple of other options that we could consider and negotiate, and maybe get 3 or 4 different players. All right, Muzzer. This one seems a bit less likely, but still. The Wayne Bennett connection, and they are a Brisbane-based club, means that it's worth looking at the Dolphins. Who would we need to get from the Dolphins to make it fair for us to say goodbye to Ben Hunt?
I think if we're looking at a forward exchange, I think we can't go past fellow made his debut from on the weekend, Josh Kerr. I think we could probably look at straight swap there. Pretty basic, but no, look, I think from the Dolphin side, probably Hammer. That's probably the only way that he'd go to the Dolphins with any sort of exchange. It's not going to happen. We all know that. But I think the Hammer, one of the Bromwich boys maybe thrown in. They're getting a little bit old, but look, definitely the Hammer. I think he's the only one that you could probably target if we're going to do a straight swap.
Yeah, no, I've got to admit that was probably the toughest one that I've thrown to you, Muzzo. I can't see much that the Dragons desperately need playing at Redcliffe at the moment. Tom Gilbert, he's a very good player, but he's probably not exactly what we're looking for right at this moment. The Hammer, as you said, would be good too, but it's not filling our most pressing needs, in my opinion. We need big, intimidating middles or powerful edge forwards, and I think everyone at the Dolphins, everyone that the Dolphins have in those roles are guys that are a bit too old and not exactly what we're looking for. So I don't see too many good deals to be made with the Dolphins, but I don't think that one's happening anyway. But
Josh Kerr, you and Aiken.
Well, Josh Kerr, we've obviously just let him. I actually sort of look at a couple of the players they've got going there next year. A guy like Thomas Flegler or Herbie Farnworth or a Jake Avarillo that the Dolphins have that they've just signed and they're going there next season. They wouldn't be bad options, but you wouldn't think they're going to swap the player that they've just bought. But Chloe, talking about the least likely option, and this one really is in fantasy land, would be the Townsville-based club, the North Queensland Cowboys. Looking at it, though, who could the Dragons get from the Cowboys to make the Ben Hunt release worth our while?
I thought Chad Townsend, their captain, so take our captain and we get their captain. Nanai, I thought Nanai, he's been playing well. Tamalolo as well, even though he's injury prone. Reece Robertson, Scott Drinkwater, Felt, as well. He's pretty good, Felt. That's all I had.
No, what about Val Holmes?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about him, but then I thought my boy Sloan, but yeah, he's pretty good too. I like Holmes too. He would be good. There's a few good ones up there.
Ruben Cotter's a good middle forward as well.
Yeah, I thought Cotter too.
Yeah, I a couple of names you didn't mention there. Helam Lukey, Griffin Neem, a couple of good young forwards coming through their system as well that again, guys that I wouldn't mind. Jeremiah Nanai is the obvious one, but Helam Lukey, given the depth they've got on the edge, he's a very good young edge forward that, it seems a lot more plausible than perhaps some of the other ones that we've spoken about. And Griffin Neem, I think, is an absolute monster through the middle of the field. So, yeah,
Bring
again,
back Luciano.
No. Hasman, everything NRL. He actually asked about eight questions about Ben Hunt, and that was kind of all folded into that. But the one bit we sort of haven't covered off wants to add to the Ben Hunt discussion. If by some miracle Ben Hunt does stay at the Dragons and sees out the remainder of his contract, can he win the fans back?
No, I don't think he can. I think he's already gone past that point. I mean, that performance that he put out on Friday was absolutely abysmal. As I said in Heroes and Villains, it was the performance of a guy who's basically, mentally he's already left. And the way that he's gone about it, I think is just, pissed way too many fans off, past the point of being able to forgive him. I think he's well and truly burnt the bridge. And look, it's probably better off if he does go, because I don't think many fans are really going to want him at the club anyway.
Muzzer, I was going to throw my 2 cents in, but I think you might do it for me. So I'll go to you.
You go for it, mate. Look, I just think, we're a fickle lot, supporters as a whole, not just the Dragons supporters. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I think he'll go. But they sit down on Monday and they rat it all out, and he puts in some decent performances between now and the end of the season. Come next year, I think we're all forgotten about it. Everyone's pissed off at the moment. Everyone's emotional. But look, at the end of the day, if he ended up staying, again, I don't think he will, but if he does, and he gets back to the best form that he's shown this year and last year, I think by next year, everyone will be over it, and we'll be just getting on with it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Muzzer. I think if we get to this time next year and the Dragons are sitting in 3rd place, Ben Hunt's at the top of the Dally M medal count and is our best player, and we're winning games of football, I don't think anybody gives a shit. I think everybody's over it. Nobody's calling for Ben Hunt's head and wanting him to be sacked immediately. I don't think. I agree with you. I think we are a fickle lot, and I think if we're winning games, that'll cover over most things. I also agree with you that it's complete hypothetical and it's not going to happen. Ben Hunt will be gone. He won't be at this club next year, I don't think. All right. Where were we? Sorry, lost my spot completely. No, not that one. Sorry. Jesse, Hasman brought it up in Heroes and Villains, but the other news is that Shane Flanagan has tapped Moses Mbai on the shoulder. I think this is unanimously a good call from our future coach, but how many more will be tapped on the shoulder before we kick off the 2024 season?
Well, I think your man Billy Burns will be probably the next on that list. Tao Temoga is probably going to join that list as well. Can't remember too many others. There's Tyrell Fumalano as well. He's still on the books. Whether or not he's extended for next year, I don't know what.
No chance. Zero chance at all.
And I think the rest is still contracted for next year. So
anyone that is contracted that you think might get the tap on the shoulder and say, go look somewhere else, son?
I'd say someone like a Ben Murdoch-Masila. I know he's only just arrived, but I don't think hasn't shown enough in his time here so far that he's going to push for a spot in our 17. Zane Musgrove hasn't had a lot of chance either. Not sure about him. Bravalawa, I don't know what he's done with his player option. He hasn't he hasn't activated his player option yet, so I don't know what he's going to do. So I don't know what's going on with his situation, whether he's going to stay on or go to the market. Haven't heard much about that. And Hasmania, I do agree with Jack Bird. But Jack Bird was actually one of the ones that we vouched for Flanagan. Obviously, he was part of that Sharks side that won the Cup in 2016. So, and Flanagan did get the best out of him, but that's 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
so,
that's 7 years ago. You're not getting that out of him now.
no. And then Matt
Nath
Fiona.
Battershaw's raised Frankie Molo. He came to the club as an Origin player on maybe a bit too much money.
Yeah, I think he's more of a bench forward in this competition. I don't see him as a starting forward. I think if him and Blake Laurie are our starting front rowers, no disrespect to them, I just don't think that they are. And if you put them in any other NRL side, they wouldn't be in the starting side. Yeah, you say Matt Fiona. I think Max. If Matt goes, I think Max would probably go too. They've come through the system, but I don't know. They just they haven't shown enough to be in that first grade side. But who knows? Under Flanagan, they may turn around. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, that's all I've got. That's all I've got to say on that for now. Just have to watch this space, I suppose. There'll be more coming in the coming weeks. I'll have to say.
Yeah, I think that the point that you raised is very valid though, in that there's not a lot of players that we have off contract. You know, most of, and again, if you want to, as a club, if you want to get rid of a player, it's actually a lot harder because usually the player you want to get rid of is an underperforming player that nobody wants. So in order to get rid of them, you have to have somebody else take over their contract because there's not too many blokes that are going to say, oh, no, you don't have to pay me. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter that I've got a contract.
No.
Most players are going to stay on the books and they're going to continue to get paid and they're going to do everything they can to try and prove their worth to a future suitor and all that. They're not going to leave of their own volition and give up money that they're entitled to. So it is a difficult one to offload players that aren't performing. A guy like Jack Bird is a guy that might have some currency. There might be some clubs that actually, that actually like him and want him and want to bring him on. So he's a guy that we could probably consider. Frankie Molo is probably another one, but some of those players that are not going to get a contract at another NRL club, I think you're stuck with them. I don't think you're getting rid of them. Now we're just about to wrap up pretty soon anyway, but Coco's got to go. So see you later, Coco.
See you, everyone. Let's see what the outcome is tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about on Tuesday.
Yes.
All right. Muzza, Flanagan has also noticed some stark issues with the team's fitness. Do you think that is a keen observation from an astute operator or something that's obvious to every man and his dog except the clowns in Dragon's head office?
Yeah, again, something that has been touched on already. Well, we'd be clowns if we didn't see it. We can see it. Fans can see it. The opposition can see it. You don't have to be too bright to work that out. Whether it's Jesse touched on match fitness earlier and overall fitness. Obviously there's a little bit of a difference, but it's got to come back to the way they're training. Like Jesse said too, you've got to be training for 80-minute footy. But I just don't know what they're doing wrong. Flano, obviously, he's seen it. He's pinpointed it, which wasn't hard to do because we've all seen it. But hopefully he's a man that's going to come in and fix it and get it. But he's got to. I think he does have to have some input, some immediate input, to get him started and ready for next year. So, fitness is a big problem. I think everyone can see it.
Yeah, and all the comments are kind of indicating that as well. Nate Battershaw says, we've been saying it for 2 years on this pod. Larry Flick says, we saw it last year. In fact, like we've seen that the Dragons have lacked fitness for the last couple of seasons. It's been obvious that we need to bring in somebody that's going to be able to increase their fitness, and Hook has not made that adjustment. He hasn't noticed that. We've got a number of players that are walking around that are carrying way too much extra weight. We just don't look like other teams, and we do seem to get tired and knock up pretty easily, and it is one that I think is pretty obvious. it's nice to hear that Flanagan has identified that pretty quickly and is straight away looking to put things in place to rectify it and to overhaul it. I think that gives Dragons fans some sort of confidence. And from everything I've heard about the guys that they are looking to target to bring in, they're the best in the business, and that's what Flanagan has promised to bring to the club is a world-class a coaching staff behind him. So that's what he is targeting. He is targeting the best in their different areas, physiotherapy and that strength and conditioning, all that sort of stuff. He wants the best in the business, and they're the guys that he's going after. And I think that's fantastic. Hopefully we can land them all, bring them to the club. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone that's tuned in for tonight's show. We'll be back on Tuesday to preview our local derby clash with the Sharks. I suggest that there will be plenty to talk about in the lead up to that game. We tried to actually figure out what changes are going to be made, and we have no idea. And I think that's one of the first times. Usually we've got some sort of clue as to what's going to happen on Team List Tuesday. I think there's going to be a few different things for us to get through. I'll say to you, maintain the rage, maintain the fire. Let's show pride in our club, even if our management don't. Come on, Dragons fans. Fire up!
Fire up.
Fire.
Red V's a part of me.